Okay, thanks, Claire. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight to do this session. Very timely at the beginning of a new year to think about business plans, and something that I actually do in real life, not just something that we talk about. I do this with my clients. We actually work in quarterly planning cycles, which I'll go into a little bit about through the session as well. And sorry, I'm just checking time, so I'll make sure that I'm not waffling on too much. I'll try and keep myself in check. Yeah, so I already do this with clients. We work in quarterly planning cycles. A couple of my clients are on. I've seen Sam and I've seen Asif, and I can't remember if I've seen anyone else. So feel free to chip in, guys, and give your feedback on how you find this process. Obviously, we spend a full day every quarter planning in our businesses. So we all come together, we do a face-to-face session. So that's how important I believe business planning is. We can't obviously do that today because we haven't got a full day. So I'm going to try and squeeze the process into hopefully around half an hour, 45 minutes for you guys, in the hope that you're going to kind of take some notes and, you know, jot down this kind of step-by-step process and take it away and actually create your own plans, because it will help you so much. Okay, so just start with a bit of an introduction, really, and sort of some things to consider at the beginning of the process. So I just wanted to explain like my planning experience. So, you know, I'm not like a professional business planner or anything. I've not got, if there's such a thing, qualifications in it, or but what I have got is years and years of practical experience. So I had in my previous life, I worked in the corporate world. You know, very, very early on in my career, I became a manager, a first line manager, and worked my way right the way up, right the way through to the point where I was managing, you know, departments and functions. And yeah, so I've business planned for years. It's ingrained. So the process is just really natural to me. And when I started Hive, obviously I shared some of that with my clients because yeah, I believe in the process, really. So that's what my background in respect of that. So the first thing to think about is, why bother business planning? Well, the reason that people do this is because, really simply, it works, and it increases your chance of success. So I'm not disputing that we can go about our business lives and work in our businesses and take steps and put one foot in front of the other and not achieve something. Absolutely, we can. However, if you plan things effectively and then implement on those plans and then measure those plans, your chances of success are greatly increased, which is why so many different businesses and so many different organizations around the globe do this. This is bread and butter, it's basic stuff. So even though you're a small business, some of you, you know, I'm kind of making an assumption that, you know, a big chunk of our audience are just starting out. Even though sometimes you think, oh, why bother? It's just me. I can assure you, and as I said, you know, not just me, some of my clients will probably chip in, that having that plan in place really does make a difference and get you moving along at a good pace and helps you to achieve. So when we think about business planning, everybody always immediately jumps to the growth part. So especially when we're starting, and it is super important. I'm not diminishing that at all. Everyone wants to, you know, grow, to acquire properties, to, you know, buy so many single lets. That's often one of the goals that is mapped out, to, you know, acquire, to buy this property, that property, and that is a goal. But what we need to also think about in balance is that it's not just about the growth, but at the same time, this is a lot of people forget, you're actually running a business, an operational business. And you don't want to lose sight of that, really. And because of that, building a business and running a business involves much more than just the progression, just the growth. we've got to create infrastructure. We've got to develop the business. We've got to improve the business. We've got to build the systems. We've got to make things easy for ourselves. So rather than just focus on the money in terms of the goals and the planning, think about that journey being very balanced. So as we grow, we also develop the business, and we do that strategically in the right order for our plans. So that's just something to consider. And then the Hive model is the methodology that I use throughout my businesses. I use it myself, I use it with my clients. And the Hive model basically is approaching everything that we do with a thought process of two sides. So the first side of the Hive model is around the 5 business departments that we structure the business around. So I'll say these slowly because people always ask me to repeat them, and I'll repeat them at the end if you don't get a chance to write them down. But the first one is marketing and sales. So that's the area of your business where you are looking to attract things. So I generically say things because you might be wanting to attract investors, you might be wanting to attract properties, you might be wanting to attract customers, tenants, a whole range of different things. So the marketing is the attraction, and the sales is the bit where we translate that into a customer or an asset of the business. So marketing and sales is the first business department. Operations is the second department, which is the usually the biggest part. If you've got an operational business, operations is the bit where you spend the most time. This is the day-to-day, the stuff where you roll your sleeves up and you get the work done. In a property business, that is probably things like project management, tenant management, all kinds of different things that go on in the day-to-day. It's the bulk of the work. The third business department is financial management. As it says on the tin, everything to do with managing your money and managing the income, managing the expenditure, tracking things, forecasting, or everything around managing the money. The next one is legal, regulatory, and standards. So that's looking at our compliance side of the business. So everything that we hold, that we need to do as part of our legal duties.
Could you repeat that again? I didn't hear
that. Of course I can. Which one? Legal, regulatory, and standards.
That was it. Brilliant. Cheers.
Yeah. So legal, regulatory, and standards. It's a bit of a chunky name, but I like those things kind of coming together. So things that we need to do to comply with legislation, and then also standards fits really nicely with this. So we don't just want to be street legal. We also want to set the standard high within our business in the way that we operate. So as such, weaving your company standards into this department is really beneficial. And the last department, if I've counted them right, is our team. So our team is the place where we look after people and we think about people, whether that's internal people or external people, whether we outsource or we insource or we use contractors. All of the people side of running a business kind of fits nicely into this particular section. So that might be recruitment, it might be learning and development, it might be contractor take on and management, a whole range of different things. So that half of the Hive model is the structure of the business, so the 5 different business departments. And then the other half of the model is almost like an overlay. So across those 5 different models, there are 4 different areas that I believe we should create structure around. And they are strategy. So first of all, you need to understand where you're going with those, strategy. You can have an overarching strategy, obviously, but you should also be thinking about a marketing strategy, a financial strategy, breaking that down to kind of a lower level. So if you think about that over each of those departments, the second part of the quadrant is implementation plans. So creating plans and schedules and things that make things happen and make things move in each of those 5 different business departments. The third part is management systems. So systems, processes, structure, organization, how we do things, what tools do we use, our resources, our documents, our forms, all of those kind of things that fit into the system. So there's a whole range of different things that we need to create to make our lives easier, not just now, but in the future. And then the final one is what I call governance. And governance can be quite broad, but for your business sizes, generally that's going to be things around sort of measuring and tracking performance. So it could be key performance indicators, it could be inspections and audits, it could be review meetings where we talk about things in a structured way. So when you think about planning, I want you to think about all those different areas. And it can seem really quite daunting when you first starting your business and you think, God, you know, I've got all this stuff to do. Don't get overwhelmed with it, but have in your head that they are all the components of running an effective business. And you can't fix them all in one go, and you can't create them all in one go. But if you think about them as part of your planning and prioritize various areas of development, you will be onto a winner, I promise. Okay. So, so the first part of making a business plan, any plan whatsoever, is understanding where it is that we're heading. So what is our ultimate destination? And you'll hear quite a lot of the time, you know, start with the end in mind. A lot of clients that I work with, and in fact, a lot of people that I speak to, find this bit really hard. They kind of know where they want to get to. They've got that ultimate vision, but they struggle to kind of put the pieces together and see the journey path that they need to take in order to reach that destination. So if you've not got any support in helping you with this, and you're doing it solo and you're thinking about this, these are kind of some of the steps that, you know, I want you to think about. So as I said, start with the end in mind. And I want you to kind of consider, oh, that whizzed ahead, that wasn't supposed to come up. So consider all aspects of your life. So, you know, thinking about your ultimate goal when you've reached that final destination. What does your life look like day to day? So, you know, what house there's something wrong with the automation, I'll have to ignore it. What house do you live in? What are your family doing? What are your kids doing? You know, what are you doing day to day? You know, how do you spend time? How do you use that time? Do you travel? Do you have hobbies? Do you have a veg patch? Do you live in a motorhome? You know, really visualize that life of the future so that you're really, really clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve. So this is the life side of the destination, because ultimately all of us are creating businesses and starting businesses to create a certain kind of life for ourselves. So we need to, everyone's heard about like vision boarding and all of that sort of stuff, which is really, really great because it's a visual there that you can see all of the time, but actually writing down the detail of what that life looks like helps you to kind of move on to some of these next stages. So the other bit is to think about what kind of business you want to create. Now, interestingly, I assume a lot of the time that we're all here to create time freedom, but I do meet a fair few people who actually want to run a business every day because they love it and they've got a passion. So, so that might be something to think about as part of your, you know, understanding your destination. So there's the lifestyle you're trying to create and what kind of business you want. So what are the values of the business? What is the achievement of the business? What's your role within the business? You know, and what does that business of the future look like? So, you know, this is the bit where we really start to unpick and think about the cost of this lifestyle, right? So there's two aspects to this now. There's how much does this life cost and how much time does this life cost? So how much does it cost in money and how much does it cost in time? So if you've got you're trying to create a lifestyle where you are traveling for, you know, a third of the year or for all of the year, and you know, and you want to have a really fancy pants house and all the flash cars and all of that sort of stuff, then you've got to achieve something in terms of money and also something in terms of time. And this is a big mistake that people make. They go for the money thinking that the money will bring them time, and trust me, it doesn't, which is why I get business owners coming to me 10 years in, several years down the line going, I can't get out of the business. I've got tons of turnover, but I'm still slugging it out every single day. So think about those things, and that will help you to really understand your destination. So the next thing is to think about your sort of long-term strategic objectives. So I'm getting into some fancy words here a little bit, and I'm going to kind of break this down a little bit. So most people think about the result. So thinking about, you know, I want a lifestyle that gives me, you know, these amount of hours or this amount of money to spend on various things. But what we need to do in order to build a plan is to start quantifying that, to start breaking that down. So let's say, for example, we know that we need £10,000 a month to achieve the lifestyle that we want. And I strongly suggest you actually go out and work out how much that costs, because that's part of the process as well. How are you going to get there? So let's not leave it, you know, these things, the success doesn't happen by chance. Or if it happens by chance, it can take you absolutely ages. And none of us wants that. We want to get there quick. So rather than leaving it to chance, you know, it does not happen by accident. It happens by strategy, and it happens by planning. So think of the end result. So we want to achieve this amount of money. That might equate to 10 HMOs, 10 single lets. It might equate to a serviced accommodation business. It might equate to a blend of different things. And also the other thing to consider is to play to your strengths. So whatever it is that you're trying to create, think about your transferable skills, think about your strengths as an individual, think about your background, think about the opportunity that you've got in front of you, and create those very, very long-term goals. So the ones that make you like literally shake yourself and think, oh my God, how on earth am I going to get from a standing start to 20 HMOs? Like, so that is your long-term strategic objective. Okay, so now taking this to the next level. So this is kind of breaking this down from the long-term piece and focusing, as we've got it in front of us now, this year, that's literally at our fingertips and in front of us. So the first step is to think about that ultimate destination versus where you are now. And what you actually get is gaps. Now, the other thing to consider when thinking about the destination is the time frame on that. So are we, you know, do you have a definite time frame that you're working to? Do you want to achieve this within, you know, 5 years, within 10 years? Do you want to time it around a retirement day, or your partner leaving work on a certain date, or a certain birthday, or your kids getting to a certain age? These things are really, really useful, because so now we've got the gap and we've got a time frame to fill. Now, if anybody thinks that they can build a portfolio of 20 HMOs in a year, and you know, that's going to be their sort of target, please tell me how to do that, because if anyone can achieve that, I want to know. So the first thing is be realistic, right? So the building businesses takes time. Ask any of the panel members, any of the guys in the room who've got existing businesses. It's a slog, it's hard work, and it takes time. So we've got to be realistic with the timeframes and the gaps. So where you're probably at the minute is you might be looking at, so for example, my 2020, my position here is that I'm looking at my gaps between now and the next 2 to 3 years. So just to put that in a bit of context. So I've got a lot to achieve in those in the next 2 to 3 years, but those are the gaps that I'm planning into. And I won't bore you with the context of what's going into there, but there's various things. So some of them are the bits that kind of come into years 2 and 3 almost are a little bit fuzzy in my mind. I know roughly what I need to do, like aspirationally where I want to get to, but I don't know the nuts and bolts. I don't know the detail. So think about think about that sort of gap and where you're at with that. And I'm sorry, I've covered this. I jumped ahead a little bit. So that overall timestamp and a stepping milestone for me are things that, so let's say my plan is over 3 years. I might have something significant that I'm working to in 18 months. So it becomes a stepping stone and it becomes a very prominent milestone. So for example, one of my stepping milestones is my other half leaving work. So I need to achieve a certain degree of things in the business so that he can leave work. So that becomes, it's not my ultimate destination, but it's a very prominent stake in the ground that I'm working towards. So think about those as well. So I describe planning and doing your annual plan as in pencil, and I'll tell you why. So in my past career, early on, we used to do annual plans. So I was managing big functions, big departments. I had several team managers that worked for me who had their own teams. We were trying to achieve a multitude of different things, and we used to annual plan. And undoubtedly, in the second half of the year, it just unraveled. It unraveled because things change all of the time. New things come to light. You learn things. You realize that things aren't working. And if you try to fine tune and minutely plan a 12-month block of time, you will probably fail quite significantly. And then what happens then is you can get overwhelmed. Your head can go down and it can actually be more detrimental. So what I do is I ask my clients to think about the end of the year and roughly where they want to be. So thinking about those timestamps, so 2-3 year period, if we've got 20 HMOs to do in the next 10 years, that gives us a certain amount to maybe do every year. So it allows us to kind of roughly section that up and roughly plan that out. The next stage is to brainstorm it all out onto to get the big picture. So I talk quite often, and my clients will laugh at this, but I forever doing unpacking exercises. The amount of unpacking exercises I've got in all of my different methods and stuff is huge, because I don't think there's anything better than getting everything out of your head onto a big piece of paper and just writing it all down, creating a little bit of chaos. And the next bit, we're going to kind of put it together and make some order out of it. So ultimately, what we're looking to achieve here is to outline the goal outcomes of the year. So what do you want to achieve? So these are the two kind of big considerations here. What you want to achieve and what you need to build. So not thinking just about acquiring those HMOs, thinking about the business development components that you need to build in order to achieve that. So that might be a deal analyzer. It might be a sourcing pipeline. It might be a CRM system. So all of these component parts help you to achieve. So you need to think about all of them in the consideration when you're building the plan. So moving into actual Q1 planning now, this is the bit where we get down to the detail. So I recommend that this is the only bit that you finally, kind of minutely plan and get into the detail on. Just the next 3 months, do as much detail as you want, because it's short enough of a time for it all to be achievable. And the more clarity that you can get over these 3 months, the less overwhelm you'll feel, the less procrastination that you will do, because you've got step, and you can just focus on that particular bit, deliver it, bang, next, onto the next. So the one bit that a lot of people forget when they are business planning is that they've also got a day job to do. They've got an actual business to run as well as trying to improve that business. So the first thing, we're unpacking again. The first thing we're doing is we're unpacking our business as usual activities. So what are the things that we need to do day to day, week to week, to keep our businesses afloat. There's no point in progressing your business and growing it and, you know, striving forward and achieving all of these goals if the actual operation that you've already built turns to shit because you kept your eye off the ball. So we've got to make sure that we get a balance between everything that we do. So as part of the planning process, I find it really useful to ask people to, you know, unpack that. So that might be that, you know, you need to spend half an hour a day just managing your emails. If you've got a team, I always ask people to allocate a certain amount of time every single day, every single week for managing their team. Team members don't do what you need them to do by a magic wand. You have to lead, you have to manage them. So allocate a certain number of hours every single day. So as an example of that, when I had one virtual assistant, I allocated 30 minutes every single day of the Monday to Friday to manage them. Now I have a bigger team and I probably spend around about 2 hours a day managing my team through setting tasks, giving feedback, attending meetings, doing reviews, all of that sort of thing. So think about the context of what you do. So I think that 3 to 4 nice chunky goals for a quarter is a nice round number. It's very achievable. We have had situations over the past year where we have, I'm saying the royal we, people that I work with, where we set 3 and 4 goals across the quarter, and guess what? We came back at the next quarter review, and they weren't all delivered. And in fact, then the other goals weren't quite at the level that we needed them to be because we were trying to cover 5 instead of really focusing on 3. And that's been we've had some real penny drop moments around this in the teams that I work with, and as such, we, you know, 3 to 4 is the magic number. Okay, so remember the 5 business departments: marketing and sales, operations, legal and regulatory, finance management, have I said that, and team. So depending on where you are in your business will probably dictate where you want to prioritize things in terms of, you know, where your attention is going to go. So if you've got an existing business, an operational business, and you know, you're a bit down the line, you've got turnover, you might have a bit of a team. More often than not, the businesses that I work with, and I'm being very general here, so you know your own business. Operations is an area where those businesses generally need to start. Financial management is also another one. And in property businesses, and Mr. Burrows will raise his eyebrows at this as well as me, the legal side of things, especially around health and safety, is sometimes not where it needs to be. So I find that in flight operational businesses, operations, finance and legal are generally the areas where you would benefit from focusing first. Sometimes around finances, there is money spilling out and we don't know where. We're perhaps not as profitable as we want to be. We haven't got the right level of data that we need to make informed management decisions. Operations can sometimes feel a bit chaotic, like you're just wading through shit every day and can't find anything, and it feels very, very chaotic and very, very stressful. And obviously the kind of legal things that we've mentioned before. However, if you were at the beginning of your journey and you don't have a team and you don't have a property, or you're very, very, very early on, then your focus will probably want to be, the bulk of your time will probably want to be in marketing, because marketing is all about creating growth. So obviously sales is kind of coupled into that, but generally your marketing activity is the stuff that you need to be on point with. You don't need to worry about your team management yet, or almost you don't need to worry about your finances. I'm not saying it's not important, but if you've not got any money coming in and you're not spending anything, don't spend your time building financial systems yet. Work on getting the traction into the business and getting the, you know, the marketing framework up and moving. Tactics brain smash. When I was writing these bullets out, I thought I'm going to nick one of Mr. Paul Million's sayings. Instead of using brainstorm, which he always calls it a brain smash. I'm going to get into trademark that. So once you've kind of determined your goals and you know what areas you're going to be focusing in and the kind of things that you're going to be doing and developing and building, literally unpacking again, big piece of paper. How am I going to do it? Tactics. So this is where like you're thinking, well, I could create a flyer. I could send some flyers. I could start networking over here. I know that I really need to build this document. I need to get a grip on my file storage. I can't find anything. My emails are all over the place. Whatever it is, like, you know, when those goals are, you know, when you've kind of determined those goals, I want you to think about all of the different things that you're going to be able to do that are going to impact you achieving those goals. And what you'll do is you'll come up with an absolute load of ideas of how you can achieve the goals. And the next thing you need to do is filter that down, because undoubtedly you won't be able to do them all. And if you try to do them all, you're probably going to struggle and fail. And this is all about making things achievable. So out of the tactics that your brain smash out, have a review of all of them and decide which ones are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. Now, what I'm not saying is if we pick a tactic and it doesn't work, we keep slogging it out. You know, we start off with a certain number of those tactics, and we go at them as best we can, and then we evaluate whether they're making an impact or not. And if they're not, then we change them, and we maybe go back to this brain smashing exercise and reprioritize our approach. So when we're thinking about the tactics, we want to think about whether they're repeatable or one-off. So they might be one-off, you know, I need to do this. My emails are a mess. I need to get some structure around that. I need to create a system for this. I need to do this, you know, I need to speak to this person, engage this person. But they might also be repeatable. And if they're repeatable, that means that it might be something that you think, as we know, property, a lot of it is just kind of churning through the numbers. So visiting so many estate agents every week, going on so many viewings every single week, the kind of things that are going to fit into our normal working patterns. So when you, again, these are just considerations. So when you're doing your tactics, think about whether it's a one-off or whether we're going to repeat it throughout the plan. So the next bit is we're going to then plan out the quarter across the 12-13 weeks, week by week, and we're going to load that into your planning tool. So I'm going to start with the planning tool first. It doesn't really matter. I obviously have a preference, which I'm going to go into a second, but like, it doesn't really matter how you do this as long as you do it. If you want to scribble it in a pad and that's the way that you operate and you know it works for you, then scribble it in a pad. A system is you writing a to-do list as much as you creating a task list in an electronic system. So do what works best for you. This is about achievement, not doing things in like the perfect way. So whatever your planning tool is, it can be, like I said, it can be, you know, a sheet of paper in a book that's week 1, week 2, week 3. It can be an Excel spreadsheet if you're old school and you like that. It could be a task management system, you know, such as Asana, that's, you know, some people use. But have a tracking system for it, okay? And then when we get into the week by week, this is where the bit about the repeatables and the one-offs become evident. So the repeatables, weave them through the weeks. So bear in mind, you're working across 3 or 4 different goals here. So when you start putting these into your plan week on week, you are going to soon see that those work plans can really stack up. And this is why I asked you to also do the understand your business as usual activities. So in addition, almost side by side, really. So you've got your plans for your goals, but then have a glancing eye along the side of realistically, what do I need to do every day? So how much does my business as usual activities take me? I'm going to have an appreciation of them over here while I build my week-to-week plans for all this extra stuff that I'm going to do. So you're going to rotate the repeatable ones in there, and you're going to prioritize the one-offs. So which are the ones that you need to do first? Some of them will be really obvious because you'll need to, one of them, you'll need to kind of prioritize things that, need to go in a certain order. Or some of them you just think this is, a better one to start with. Or sometimes it can just be completely random, but get them in there and even them out and create a 12-week implementation plan. And these components are gonna help you to achieve. So we've all done things. I imagine we've all been in the position where we've got a task to do, we've got a project to achieve, even a business plan to implement, and you look at it and it just completely and utterly overwhelms you. And once it starts to overwhelm you, that's when we start to procrastinate. So by breaking it down like this into week by week plans, it means that every week you can lift your plan out because you've invested the time in this, so you can trust it. I can't stress that enough. You can't lift the plan out and go, oh God, maybe I've not got this right, or maybe I need to change it. No, you've spent the time, you have invested a very valuable resource in doing this, which is your time. And if you've done it right and you've done the process right for a 12-week period, you can trust the process. So having real clarity around what you need to do, and having things that you're able to measure. So bear in mind, we've got a week by week plan. We can tick them off as we go, which creates measurability in the process. Another bit that will really help is to gain some accountability around this. So that might be accountability to yourself if you're that disciplined, if you're that enough. That might be a business partner, it might be a life partner, or it might be just someone that you buddy up with. But committing that plan to paper is step one. Holding yourself accountable to it is another really big step. And with us having that deadline in place, that quarterly view, that 3-month view, creates a very definite endpoint. So it's not open-ended and you think, I'll get around to that, or sorry, the 3-month endpoint, but also the week by week. We've got the deadlines in like that as well. So it's really, really difficult if you holding yourself to account effectively to stray on all of those factors. So it helps it, all those kind of 4 components will really help you to achieve and deliver on your plans. So what's next? How are you going to bring these plans to life? So you will never have the time to do this. There is always something else to do. There's always something else demanding your time. So you need to find it. So what I suggest is that you plan a day out of your diary. Now, depending on how deep you want to go here, depending on how big your business is, I would say that as a minimum, you need a half day, and a full day should probably do the trick. So we spend 1 full day every quarter planning out the next 3 months. Block it out in your diary. Don't plan other meetings. Don't take calls. Put your phone into airplane mode, whatever you need to do, because this is such a valuable part of running a business. Everybody thinks it's like, oh, I'll get round to it. It's nice in the real world being able to do this. Well, in the real world, this is actually what people do. So invest the time, you're worth it, and your business is worth it. Maybe do it with a buddy. So if you've got a business partner, then great. If you work, if your life partner is supportive and works in your business, then great. Or it might just be, a kind of peer that you've got, somebody in your network, somebody that you get on with. Maybe plan that day together and sit down and do it. You can do it virtually. I've run these sessions virtually before. So that is a little bit of accountability. And the other bit around this is that you can bounce off each other. So the one thing that I miss so much, when I first started out, the one thing that I missed so much was having my team around to bounce. When I first started out in running my own businesses, I found that so difficult, which is why one of the programs that we created, the accountability program that Sam and Asif were on, because it's about that, you know, having a team, having peers, having people around you. And when we do these sessions, we break out into smaller groups. So they work in smaller groups as part of the big group for this very reason, because there's so many more ideas that come from the process as well when you work it like that. So create the tools and the structure before you start. So remember I said about, like, it doesn't matter how you plan, whether it's an Excel document or something in Asana or whatever, but create the structure. If you get to the end of the process and you've mapped out all your goals and you've done all your actions and they're on loads of different bits of paper, this is the bit where you'll go, oh, I can't be arsed, I'll do this tomorrow. Like, so if you've got the structure, if you've got the tool in place already at the beginning, when you're doing the brainstorming, you know, or the brain smashing, and you're kind of putting things together, put it directly into the plan. You know, once you've decided it, yeah, I definitely need to do that, get it in. So if you create the tools and the structure before, it will make the friction much less, and you're more likely to finish it. So the amount of times that I've seen plans started and not quite finished, and before we know it, we're like 2 months in and we've still not tied up those loose ends. So if you don't use a tracking system, this is so easy to put into an Excel document, which, you know, and if anyone wants a tool for this, I've got an Excel document that we use. It's very rough, nothing fancy, but it does the job. So give me a shout if anyone wants that. Keep going even when it gets tough, because some of this can be soul destroying. When you can't think of what to do and you're frustrated and you're out of ideas and it feels overwhelming, just keep pushing on. That's what makes us different from everybody else, because we turn up every single day, even though it's shit and it's hard and it's tiring and it's difficult. We still turn up every day, and you'll probably feel that through your planning process. It can feel like a little bit of a slog. Conversely, sometimes it can feel really energizing and exciting. So it depends on the environment that you create. After the session that we ran in December, I had loads of the guys messaging me for days after going, oh my God, I feel so energized, so upbeat, I'm really excited. They were almost all kind of sitting on the hands over the Christmas break thinking, I can't wait to get going in the new year. So, but if it does get tough, just keep going, because it's worth it. So set onward review cycles. So I mentioned that we do quarterly planning sessions, you know, and I'm happy to kind of revisit this in the group every quarter if we think it's going to be valuable, you know, even maybe in an abbreviated version. So plan your next quarterly review. So at the end of a quarter, in month 3 of every quarter, that's when we get together as a group with my clients. And the first thing that we do is we look back over the previous quarter. So we review what we've achieved and we analyze our performance before we kind of plan for the next quarter. But within that 12-week, you know, that 3-month cycle, the review cycles should be smaller as well. So we should be doing that every week, as a maximum every 2 weeks. So I always say that it's really good to top and tail your week. So start off your week and plan what you're going to do. So get your plan out, you know, look at your diary, think, right, this week I need to achieve this, this, and this. Just a quick sense check of the plans that you've already created. And on a Friday, in order to close down the week, and I always find this is really, really good to kind of be able to switch off for the weekend. If you sit and you think, right, how was my progress against plan for this week? Did I achieve what I needed to achieve? And it helps you to kind of just wrap the week up. And yeah, finally, just enjoy the process. It's new for some of you. It can be a little bit difficult, but it's also so rewarding if you get this right. And if you do this, you are already leaps ahead of so many different business owners, so many property business owners who don't even give this a second thought. They just go out every single day, put one foot in front of the other, deliver, grow, cause a little bit of chaos, get to a certain point and look back and think, oh shit, what do I do now? So you're already, if you can do this and you can build this into your business, you are already ahead of the curve of a lot of people. So enjoy it. And that's it. That's me done. So I'm happy to take any questions. Let me stop sharing my screen. Oh, there's a a few things in the chat.
That was absolutely incredible.
Oh, thanks, Bryn.
Yep, brilliant, brilliant. Very digestible, Claire, and that's what business planning needs to be.
Oh, good. Yeah, it can. Oh, Bryn, I'm daunted already. Hopefully not. Hopefully by the end of it, it kind of can come together. And
No, I'm daunted. No, I'm signing up. I need some help with this. So you've just smashed that out the park.
Oh, bless you.
You'll be getting a few more customers at the end of the tonight.
Yeah, come and give me a shout. And I do run these sessions every quarter with my clients, and it is kind of just my clients at the moment. But I am thinking of expanding that out a little bit, because it's such a valuable day. I saw something off Sam in there. Our Queen Bee Claire has revolutionized my business planning, future-proofing an organization. Oh, bless her, she's a good one. Yeah, but they do, and that's why I kind of refer to them, because don't just take my word from it. These guys have worked it. And and as if as well, it's a great program. Oh, bless you, you're all too kind. I'll pay you at the end, I promise.
I've got a quick question, Claire, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So do you use like a daily planner journal type thing as well? Would you just do all of your stuff on your main planner tool?
Yeah, I try to keep things as electronic as possible.
Right.
But however, I will say, and people are always surprised by this, that I do stray onto paper sometimes, and I find that I move depending on how energized and motivated I'm feeling. So at the minute, I'm very, very rigid on my online planner, my task management system, and I'm making myself stay in there. But I've got it structured in a way that it almost becomes like a desk planner. So the way that I structure it is I create custom fields, and at the minute I'm using a little mini system of now, next, and later, just because I've got so much to do. I'm feeling overwhelmed, that I've created a little subsystem myself to try and help me manage my own overwhelm, because even when you plan and you've got everything in place, it happens to the best of us. And that's working great for now. So what it does is it moves up the next kind of 5 actions, and keeps me really focused. So I prefer electronic, and that's, I've got a team of 5 now. So so I've got to think about me and them. So it's important that I keep everything electronic. However, there are some amazing planners out there. If you're old school and you like the desk planner, the diary, there's some really good ones. And in fact, my son Jake, who hopefully will come, and we keep threatening that he's going to come and do a talk here. I mentioned it to him again today. I coach him in his business, and he is a bloody nightmare for the electronic stuff. So I bought him, I gave him a planner for Christmas, a diary planner, because he's been using that this week, and he's been extracting his plans that we've created for him and putting them into there.
Yeah.
What do you use, Darren?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's one of the things I find challenging, because I am old school and I like to write stuff down. I use whiteboards and I like to write stuff in a diary. But I am, over the last few years, I've been trying to go more electronic, and I use Asana and I use all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's just not, if it's not there in front of me, it's fine if you've got Asana open and you're using it all day long. But if you've got to flick between applications on your screen, I just find that it's not in your face enough, for me anyway. So yeah, it's like a constant battle I have, is trying to work out the best way of doing it.
Sometimes, and this sounds really counterintuitive, right? But sometimes, and again, the reason I'm telling you this is that I change the way that I do this all the time, depending on my energy. And so that challenge that you're feeling, Darren, even me, who's like super rigid, and I do like it all to be electronic, sometimes I don't particularly like working like that. So when I get to that point, I make sure that everything goes into my electronic system. Bryn's showing us his notepad there, and make sure that
that's old school.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are. But what I find when people write it in pads is, because I see people turn up to meetings and they write page after page after page after page, and they turn it next, and before you know it, that stuff 10 pages ago might as well have never have been written down,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
people
yeah.
don't go back, they don't refresh it. If you're going to use paper, you create your own system with the paper. So if I use paper, what I do is I have like a master sheet, and I break it down into sections. So it's generally when I'm completely and utterly overwhelmed, when I've got meetings and phone calls and all of this sort of stuff, and I'll break it down into sections. So I'll have phone calls, jobs to do out and about, and people that I need to go and see, or visits, or whatever I need to do, team tasks, client tasks, and I section it up like that, and I have a master sheet, and all of the other sheets behind it, they get transferred onto the front sheet. So that's a paper system that you can use. Like, a system is a system. It doesn't matter how it works, as long as it works. But yeah, so sometimes I try to make sure that everything goes into my electronic system, so that we've got it for completeness, really, and consistency. But then I will extract the key activities for that particular day onto a pad, or even sometimes into the notes on my Apple phone. If I'm feeling really overwhelmed, I'll use notes in the Apple phone. I'll use Apple Notes in the phone, and I'll do that little thing where you can tick them. You can just press it and it ticks, and I'll just put 5 tasks, and I'll call it my next 5 tasks. So I spend the time planning the little 5 tasks, 5-10 minutes, right? What do I need to do next? Transfer them over, reduce the overwhelm, onto the next one. So there's little systems within systems that you can do to help. So paper isn't the devil, but you will find that electronic systems will help make sure that you don't drop any balls.
Yeah, and the problem with paper as well, obviously, is you've not always got it with you all the time. If you've got, I've got like an A4 diary, and that's the problem, isn't it? It's all right when you're at your desk, but if you're out and about, it's just easier to stick it on Evernote or in Asana or whatever you're going to use. But for me, it's just trying to keep everything in one place, because it tends to be scattered all over the place. But first world problems, isn't it?
Yeah, which is why I create the, and part of the system work that I do is an integrated management system, and it's for exactly that reason. So if you can, the system that we use, it keeps virtually, all I use are 2 platforms. I use Microsoft for my emails, for my document storage, Microsoft for my emails, my document storage, and that's pretty much it. And then I use ClickUp, which is my management system, and that has everything in it. All of the notes, all of the operating procedures, the task management, managing my team, online forms, client records, everything all in one place. And what that does is it means you've only got one place to go. Just in case anyone's thinking of joining ClickUp on the back of that, just reach out to me, because I've got a good link that gives a really good discount. But yeah, so I'm trying to get Sam is a bit of a whiteboard paper pad type girl, and we're building out her system, and I'm basically prizing it out of her fingers on a weekly basis, and getting her to create a ClickUp environment, which is going really, really well. She's getting all of her systems in place. But that bit around, like, where do I put it? There's too many places to go. In my world, we only have one place for it to go. So that really helps as well.
Cool. Cheers.
Just to share something, Darren, if you haven't tried this, because I like pen and paper, but I also like tech. And I don't know whether you've ever seen Rocket Books.
Yeah, I've actually got a remarkable. I've got a remarkable
right.
too.
So I have 2. This is just a pad, but as a Rocket book, and this is a planner. So there's a planner, but all I do is when I'm writing notes, and if I want to doodle, like we said, you want to doodle some ideas.
Yeah.
Obviously, like as Claire said, it just sends to one of 2 or 3 locations.
Yeah.
That's either allocated for someone else to take a look at, or it's something that I need to have scheduled in. So I adore Rocket Books, because I think they're really, they don't remove my love of pad and paper, but they enhance the tech bit.
Yeah, I bought a remarkable tablet last year, and I do use that quite a lot, because I just, when I was doing training, going on coaching and stuff, I took so many notes. I've got like bundles and bundles of notebooks, like loads of other people, I guess, and just could never find anything. So I use the Remarkable for that, because then you can obviously, put it into folders and sections, etc.
Yeah, sorry, what I should have said is, because Rocket, this is the planner version, but basically what it enables you to do is, once you've written on them, you can wipe it all off. You have a little,
Yeah.
you have a little series of codes on the page, and you can decide where on that page that particular information goes.
Yeah.
So it basically either emails it, or it puts it in a Dropbox folder, or it adds it to your Evernote to-do list. So you can't really make, unless you wipe it all out by mistake. But once you finish with a page, you basically say, send that information. I can email it to myself. So I adore Rocketbooks because I like a bit of both. I like the on the hoof stuff.
Yeah.
Another great tip, just linking into that before, I have seen you, Michelle, I'll come to you in a second. Another good tip is if you've got loads and loads of notes in a paper book and you want to transfer them to an electronic, retrospectively, if you've not got your Rocketbook and what have you, if you use Google Lens, which is a part of the Google app on your phone. So Google Lens allows you to take a picture of a piece of paper and it transfers it into text. So quite often, if I go to meetings and I'm taking manual notes, that's how I quickly transfer them from paper into my management system. So I've got a record of that meeting or those particular notes. That's a good little tip.
Cool.
Sorry, I'm still don't know what Rocketbooks is.
So Rocketbooks is it's a book that if you imagine like it's kind of like a whiteboard on paper, in a pad, and so that you can wipe it off and clean it off and write on it again. But the tech allows what you write on that board to store it in an electronic location. So and it transfers it there automatically. So Trish, as Trish said, it's got like various codes that you program in. So a certain, or like a symbol, sorry. So you write a certain symbol and it takes it to this particular place or this particular.
Yeah, sorry. So as you say, Bryn, if you imagine this was a sheet of paper, if you fill up the book, then you're scrabbling around looking for where was that note that I wrote to myself that was about, I had an idea for a business. My Rocketbooks have there's a different little symbol, and you can allocate which symbol things go to. So if I was having a business planning meeting like I did today, and we took lots of notes and had lots of ideas, and there were some tasks that needed to be done, that at the bottom of the page, when I finished that page, I basically just put the symbol that note is going to. There's an app on your phone, you hover over the page and it sends it. And you can have it sending it to everybody who's at the meeting. You can have it transcribe it into text or whatever. There's lots of things you can do. Or as you say, some of them are tasks for other people to follow up on. But I just go, well, those tasks are for such a body. So it's super easy to use. Yeah. And it combines the paper creative process thing with the tech bit. But as Claire said, you still have to be clear where certain things are going, because otherwise you'd end up with the same mess. You just email yourself every note and you'd be in the same situation. So you do have to think about
where so you can just say send this to the CRM and it'll get to the client file.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of mine is
because all of you lot here are in this notebook, because that's the last 6 months of all of my SaaS conversations with all of you. And I've got no idea how to transfer it from this notepad to anything that's just not paper-based.
We are lost there.
Yeah, lots there.
Let's hope it doesn't set on fire or gets lost, Bryn. You'll be buggered then, won't you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm bugging myself daily, clearly. I'm still carrying on with this. That's phenomenal. Right. We'll be buying Rocketbooks over the weekend.
Go on Amazon, go and have a look at Rocketbook. They're not expensive.
I wasn't really worrying about the cost. That's just a normal.
I've just put a link in the chat, by the way.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Peter. Sorry, Claire, I was going to say some other thing, because you did mention, obviously, when people are writing down the structure. I'll put in the chat box. I've no affiliation with this because it's just a free piece of software. Mind42, which is a mind mapping software. So if you want to draw a structure of something like an organizational chart, or you just want to have an idea and you like it on screen and you want little offshoots of ideas, if you do like the kind of online bit of that, mind42.com, I'll put the link in, is free software where you can draw little mind maps, and literally you sit in front of your computer and it will allow you to export them, and it's completely free.
Awesome.
Really useful.
Good. Michelle, I'll come to you. Sorry it's taken us so long, but conversation train went a certain way and it was really useful?
No, it was really good because I took notes of all those things, and I heard that you use ClickUp, and I started using last year. But as it happens to me with some of these programs, I started, and then it gets so overwhelmed that I just like decide to stop and not use it anymore. So I wanted to check with you if you could suggest any videos or a good way to start using ClickUp, because I thought it's a good platform where I could storage all the things, but it's too much. It's too much. So I don't know, any tips, any videos, any, I don't know, YouTube people to follow that they explain to you in an easy way how to use ClickUps.
Is it the technology that you find it difficult, like how to use ClickUp or how to structure it?
I think it's more the structure. I think
right.
It's structure, because what it happens is that it's great. You spend half a day doing the things, and then you start getting, and you are late with one appointment or with one task and things like that, and you start getting a lot of emails. And maybe it's because you don't have the time to digest on how to do the use the platform. But at the end of the day, I quit up and just back to.
So I've got some good stuff for you there, right? So ClickUp is absolutely amazing. There's a few platforms like it. There's another one called Notion, but for business, I think ClickUp is superior. So I would suggest that you stick with that. You've obviously seen the benefit of the hello, Mr. Million. I'll come and say hello in a sec. Let me just finish answering this. That you've seen the benefit of the actual system and what it can do and its capability. So what I would say is stick with it. In terms of videos to watch, all of the videos that you watch will all be about how to structure the system, how to do the technical build of it, which isn't really going to answer what it is that you're looking for. And some of them will be really quite advanced. And I would say stay away from the advanced stuff like the automations and, a lot of the customizing aspects of it. Forget all of that. Stick with the basics. And this is basically the work that I do with my clients. So I fix that problem that you're having. So my brain I'm an absolute geek. I love building systems. I love designing them. And as I said, with, Sam and myself are doing some great work on developing hers at the minute. So some tips that I've got for you to start with is, the spaces that you have in ClickUp. Remember the hierarchy. So you've got spaces and folders and lists and tasks. Create a space for each of the 5 business departments that I gave you before. So marketing and sales, operations, legal, finance team. Start with that. Create a general action log in each of those where you can start just pigeonholing your actions into the different departments, and create a document in each of those areas as well. So you can start moving documents into that structure. So that is step 1. Just start using it like that to start with. Put all of your actions in there, regardless. All of your notes, all of your, your documents, your processes, anything that you've created so far, put them into those 5 departments and just work it like that to start with. Just track the actions through, make the notes, close the actions down and do that. And then once you've done that, then you can move on to further development. This is where you can start developing CRMs and pipelines and online forms and operating procedures, but don't think about that yet. Just 5 departments, a general action log, and a document library in each will be a really good place for you to start.
Okay, thank you very much, Claire. And
you're welcome
to get your details for the
So of course, I'll stick my details. I think they're already in the chat box, but I'll put them in again if you want, or reach out to me on social media as well. If you want any tips, or come back to the Entrepreneurs in Property, where you can come in my breakout room and ask me some questions, so we can do a bit of work like that if you wanted to. No problem.
Thank you very much.
We've got a star guest arrive. Mr. Paul Million has actually taken some time out of his Friday evening.
We're honoured.
Here he is.
Me is
you look massive there.
I know, I look